Good evening to you all from all the corners of Soweto, Johannesburg, Gauteng, South Africa, Africa, and all over the world. Welcome again to Sakumzi Restaurant, where you can get the best cooked traditional foods you can ever have in the whole world. And welcome again to the Sello Makekancube Foundation Fathers and Sons Conversation on Ending Gender-Based Violence. And we are doing this during the 16 days of activism against violence on women and children. Well, I'm not alone today, but yes, I will introduce my guest to you just a little while. You can catch our Twitter handles, and here they are: Sello MKN_Sons Changing Behavior. Hashtag Sello MKN_Sons Changing Attitudes. Hashtag Sello MKN_Sons Change Your Behavior. Yes, we are going to get into these conversations. And tonight, this evening, we are going to be discussing or talking about absent fatherhood as an invisible violence on women and children. But I'm not alone. Let me introduce my guests. And as always, I've got my sons with me, and they can start introducing themselves and greeting their friends out there.
Nanzula First of all, I would like to thank my mother, Ellen Sakai, for carrying me for 9 months and giving birth to me. Just want to say I love you because you raised me to be the man I am. And then Male Papa, Mema Sakai, Rose Sakai, Mashadi, Le Mweti Enes Sakai. And those are two grandparents that I had to give me the opportunity, to experience an undisguised love between a mother and a father, So I thank you, wherever you are. Rest in peace.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kamala Mulindo Bushe Makubo. I'm 23 years old. And I think ever since I've been watching TV from a young age, I've always wanted to say thank you for having me. So this is my chance now. Thank you for having me, guys.
And ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Mrs. Melody Zondo. Ma'am, your intro.
Wow, what do I say? Thank you for having me, first of all. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
My name is Melody Zondo. I'm the reigning Mrs. Universe South Africa, the first Black woman to win the title. I'm a married mother of 2. I have 2 incredible children with my husband. I'm married to my best friend of 15 years. I run a business, so I'm self-employed. I'm in the beauty business. I have a home-based studio. I specialize in makeup artistry, microblading, and skincare. But I'm also a signed commercial model. You may have seen me in one of the biggest national campaigns for Easy Waves. So I dabble in a couple of things. I don't like to box myself. I always like to challenge myself.
Thank you very much, Sis Melody. Can I call you Host Melody? Or Sis Melody?
It makes me feel so old. And I know I'm not young, but it makes me feel so old.
There. Look, Host Melody, thank you for agreeing to, join us in our conversation, my conversations with my sons. And the topic today hits home. It hits home to me because I think, what I would like to do is, basically sort of like dissect this whole thing of absent fatherhood. I mean, I think there is absent fatherhood in a sense that you are completely not there. And I think for me also there's absent fatherhood where you are just there, but not there.
Yeah.
And I know in one way or the other, I have affected my children with that, And I think, and later on I had an experience of it and of the pain and the violence that it has caused, the mothers of my children. And that is translated as, for instance, as far as mothers of my children are concerned, as baby mama drama. That's what it is called. And initially, that's what I also had that perspective that it is baby mama drama. But later on, as you grow older, and I think grow a little wiser, and you realize that that pain, that whole anger that is coming out there, is actually coming from pain. And I may not basically have the authority to describe it, but I later saw that this whole drama basically comes from pain. And that is the pain that I personally, caused the mothers of my children. And I think maybe I should even take the opportunity, to say to them, hey, I've said it to them, but I guess maybe do it publicly, that I am sorry that I did that to them. And had I known better, and I wouldn't have done that to them. And I think for me, that is why I am having these conversations. And I think also, because my elder son who passed on, this also, I think it is done in dedication to him. Because I started with him to, I think, recognize something. And with him, I recognized that as much as I was there, I wasn't there. And I'll tell you of an incident that happened. And he was having 4 girlfriends. I got told by my daughter. And I said, oh my God. And by that time, I've got 4 children with 4 different women. And I called him. I said, hey, Autiam, Auzela, I hear you've got 4 girlfriends. And it was, oh, yours, no. And then what I did, I broke it down to him. I said, you know what, son, let me break it down to you. I need you guys, you break it down. Let me break it down to you. And I said, you know, when I was dating your mother, I did it so and so, I did it so and so, I did it so and so, I did it so. And then came your sister's mother, I did it so and so, I did it so and so, I did it. And then came your other brother's mother, I did it so and so, I did it so. You saw me so and so, because that time he's growing up. You saw me so. And then after, I did it so and so, I did it so and so. You saw me so and so, you saw me so and so. I said, you know one thing about this kind of behavior, son, is that it is addictive. Sex itself is addictive, you know. But how to see you know? Let me ask you a question. When you were growing up, because he came to live with me at the age of 14, he said, when you were growing up, didn't you wish that I was there? I tell you, Rose Melody, tears welled up in his eyes.
Sure.
And I said, you see? And I thought I was being better than my father who never raised me. Do you see what really needs to happen here? So, you know, for me, that is the background.
Sure.
So if ever we, you know, and the guys want to, you know, feel free to, you know, to add. But before, you know, we give, before that, I'll give Mrs. Melody, you know, her take on this thing. And until we get to the point where we actually have these difficult conversations and make sure that as much as I tried to turn and say, or break a cycle of not raising children, but it doesn't only about just raising children, it actually calls us to take a certain kind of responsibility, you know. What is your take on our subject today?
It's a heavy one.
Yeah.
And for me, it's a heavy one because it hits home. You know, it's a subject that's very personal to me.
Yeah.
So with me, what happened is, you know, I had a typical Sowetan upbringing.
Yeah.
So I was not raised by my mom. I was raised by my late great-grandmother, Ukoko.
Yeah.
That's who raised me because, you know, mama bagane life yake. And I never really knew my dad, like ever. I probably have met Ubabami a couple of times. You know, when you are told, Ubaba wako. He would come, aleta my toys, ahlale an hour or two, and then he leaves, right? And then one time, he was gone for a long period of time. I think for months and months on end. So I'm like, as a child, I'm like, what's happening here? So I asked my mom, I'm not sure, Mama. Baba says I understand, you know. And all I got was acceso babako. You know, that was it, acceso babako. Leave it alone. And growing up black, being a black person, we don't talk.
Yeah.
As umntwana, you don't ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay, you do as you are told, kuphelela lapho, otherwise there's going to be consequences. And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say consequences. So that was it. At this time, I think being 9 or 10, right? So it's Katisia Hamba. There are men coming in and out of my life, you know, that sometimes I'm forced to call them Ubaba, you know, and I don't have clarity in terms of my biological dad. So it's about 16, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance. I'm going to ask my mom because I was curious, I wanted to know. So I would like to get to know my dad. And she actually obliged me and she allowed me to do so. I was very surprised when she actually allowed it to happen. Anyway, I tried to reconnect with him and it ended up ugly. He basically denied me. He was like, I don't know who you are. So I haven't seen him ever since I was 16. I don't know if he's alive. I'm not sure what he's been up to. All I know is that I've got other siblings.
Right, yeah.
And that pain, that rejection, I've carried with me until today.
Faka moya madoda.
I think my question now is how basically has not having a relationship with your father affected you? With I think maybe also thinking towards how your kids are going to be raised.
Sure. It affected me in so many different ways. Number one, after that happened, I started rebelling, so I started seeking that love in the wrong places. And when I say that, I mean boys, you know. So I started dating, because I was yearning for that love, Leo, that love that you're supposed to get at high. And so I would always end up with the wrong kind of guys, who are just there for their own, bane agenda yabo,
Yeah.
bese bayadlula. And this probably went on for most of my life because I just wanted somebody to tell me that they love me. So it's something it's hard. It's very hard because you often ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Was I not the ideal child? You blame yourself for what happened to you, as a child and as an adult, because you don't know why this person just decided not to be there.
Yeah. As you're talking, what comes to mind is how does an act of love turn to be an act of hate and hurt? And that, for me, is, I think it is something, I think I just find it boggles my mind. Because all this baby making, at best, it starts as an act of love,
Yeah.
and then it moves from that act of love,
Yeah.
and then it turns to an act, where now hate is brewing. And with that hate, then there's the hurt, or is the hate, and then the hate. You know what I mean? One can choose which one comes first, but how does that happen? Linda, what is your take on this?
I think according to me, in my experience actually, it brews a lot of pain mostly. I think it mostly stems from pain.
From pain.
Because not wanting to feel that pain. I think anger is a very good emotion at suppressing pain. Because you don't really get to interrogate what it is that's making you feel the way that you are. So you'd rather, act out in a certain manner but I think that's why.
What's your personal experience?
My personal experience. Well, I guess with me, there was a point where I would feel, Mkambe, that maybe you'd say you love me, but I didn't really believe it. You know what I mean? Because at some point, I felt as though you could have done more.
Yeah.
You could have basically been there a bit more. And just, although, you were getting strife from Uma, from the pain that she was experiencing.
Exactly.
I felt like you could have made a better effort, to try and, I think especially those, the one time when you actually, when Bibala Ngami and you fought, and I was so excited that day. Even though things were heated and the situation was just, but I was so excited. But I just feel like that would have.
Yeah.
I think it would have contributed a whole lot.
Sure.
In my upbringing. Which
Now, what's yours?
Hey, nigga, what's the value about it? Hey, that dog you at some way. Hey, that ain't anything no. Hey, so gila wano ko level, and as you're growing up, and then people keep on pointing your father, ki sting and stuff like that, But I don't know. I was so calm about it, and I don't know what made me to feel so calm. And like that dog is a celebrity, but you're not even excited about it, The thing, I think maybe I was doubting it. I wasn't believing it. No, he's my father, And people, because in America now, it's a hairdressing and stuff, and another salon. So people will come in and say, hey, what's on that time? No one get a night on that one. Give up less one or one or two. And then there comes a moment, like now I'm growing up, as I'm growing up, I'm starting to ask now, okay, if he's my father, then when am I meeting him? So my mother will try and make efforts, search for my father. Mom search and thing. I'm I understand. So mom tolantengi or one probably the squabble sinyana more for
He's acting up.
tell him how to prove it. You understand? Like my father was telling my mother, no, prove it or don't want or one. But my mother, when I asked her a question, like, why does he have to say that? I don't know, because of we another malume or they even the time that they went to the family by Samolato or one. So I don't know about the time and then the process something, but then there was no follow up. So probably because of Natam Holoaka, I know they're very kind of and stuff like that. And Baba Holu Makereke. So, but said maybe we'll take care of the child for one. So maybe that's when my mother withdrew the efforts, for now it's okay, let me just withdraw. Because I know they're not worried. So those are type of things, like now, niki question like, understand why am I being rejected? Would I come to this world without two parents? Understand? Why? Who is my father really? I don't know. That's our father, and I'm so proud of my mother, because I'm patela for know who's your father, even though probably she's angry with my father. Understand? For whatever happened, with them. So I wasn't part of it, and I don't want to be. Actually, I took the responsibilities. Their baggage, kadinga, mirwala ya bona. Gonna get roland no December, yo. And after 37 years, kona melong like in the I made a time to apologize to both of my parents, for taking that luggage. And you know what? I took other people's responsibilities and made them mine, and I was questioning left and right. So
now, man, guys, thank you for sharing. I haven't shared my own experience, and because I said earlier that, but again, with my eldest son. Now, where did all this come from? When I was 13, and I remember that time, there's a time that I can recall where now this thing started hitting me. I was 13 years old. And, and I would look at my siblings from my stepfather. I look at my stepfather, and my stepfather loved me. I'm what I am today actually because of Mike, And I look at my stepfather, I look at my siblings, but nah, it's one anymore. And that used to, and I look at my friends, they had biological fathers. You look at them and they look like their fathers. And those are and like you were saying earlier on, as a child, you can question these things, And that's where the idea came from me to say, you know what, when I have a child, I'm going to make sure that I look after my child. Because I don't want my child to go through that, So even my conversations with Policy's mother, they started I've been telling her, and I think we sort of started consolidating them when he was 13. And then that's why the following year, I wanted him to come stay with me because I didn't want him to go through that. But look at what I discovered. Because I was always there for him. Throughout the, like the 13 years, I was just a weekend dad, support more, I guess maybe not going with at times, you know what I mean? But I was there. And then at 14, I said, now come live with me. And his mother was gracious, you know, that he allowed him to come and live with me. But later discovered that I still caused pain. So I think for me, that is why I say in Barking, absent fatherhood. And absent is not absent because Barking, by virtue you're not there altogether. You can be there physically and maybe be seen on weekends, which is what Lindo experienced. No one ever experienced that, you know. But still, look at what he thought. He thought that I should have done more. And I think the question is to ask, what is the more? You know, and I don't expect you to answer it. You know? Okay. You know, I don't expect you to answer it. But from the experience, to young police, I know what is the more. And the more is Yemun. You know,
connecting.
Munna. Before I go anywhere, you know, please add your thoughts, because I know I can wrap it up. You know, I don't want to wrap it up. I can go on, you know. But yeah, you know.
I think from my end, first of all, I must just commend you that you can have this conversation with your sons openly and honestly.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us as parents, you know, we don't like to have these conversations. When our children tell us, Wuti, you hurt me by doing this, we don't accept it.
Yeah.
You know, we'll always say, yeah, but I also did this right. And I know I'm guilty of that myself. So the one thing that I'm definitely taking away from this is to start and have these kind of conversations with my children, you know, and accept when I'm wrong. And the other thing that I picked up from Uneo is a very important thing that we don't talk about, which is women saying, I'm financially okay, so I don't need you to raise this child. Not realizing how it affects the child. Because they see their friends with their biological dads, like you said, and they wonder, but why do I not have that? So you may have the money. However, there's a lot that the child misses. Emotional security is not there because the father is not there. They grow up not thinking they're enough. They loathe themselves because they think my dad didn't want me.
And,
you know?
And correcting that, you know, as you know, my mother, we came it was not about finances. She is a strong woman. You know, that's one thing I've noticed about her. That we came it. And I think I also have the qualities that she possesses, you know. And I think also from my father as well, you know, because of without the two, I am nothing. So so I owe him and I owe my mother. So I think like sometimes, you know, coming to a point where like now this wound, you know, how do you overcome it? You know, because that's the most important thing. And it took me 37 years, you know, to overcome this thing, which is now recently in December, you know, starting to see things differently and healing, you know, because of now, as you grow older, I think as I remember I said a quote in Yanahori, a man's growth is maturity. You know, I didn't understand why I said that, but I think as you grow with age, you start seeing things differently. You know, even love itself, even hate itself. Like, no, I had short temper. But now, because now I understand. You know?
Your last word on this, not before you take the last word, this melody, you know. Because we're running out of time.
Just to absent fathers, please know that there is a whole lot of damage that you are doing to your kids. And a lot of the times when it happens as kids, we are helpless. We can't do much about it. However, we carry that pain. We carry that resentment with us. And when we get to adulthood, we are at a point where it will manifest itself somehow, you know, whether it's becoming an addict, because there is a link of dependency and depression with absent fathers. You know, there is that you don't have confidence. You know, you don't think you're enough. You don't feel loved. So,
we got to wrap it. You know, you have one quick word. Quick
word.
Word.
A word.
Yeah.
A word.
Yo, bye, guys.
That's a good one. Well, yes, we are coming to the end of the show. This is a very difficult subject. It's a very difficult subject in the sense that we don't realize the hurt that we're causing. And I think I would wish that young men and young women out there, let's begin to look at this aspect that we shouldn't look at sex just for sex. There is something more important than to it than that. And if we will recognize something is that sexual act, if we look at it properly, that is where we become little gods. Because out of it, babies come. And then we think that when those babies come, we can walk away from them and walk away from the mothers who have given those babies. It is time to change attitudes. It is time to change behaviors. Let us break the cycle of absent fatherhood. When you go have sex, think twice. What's going to come out of it? Well, I would like to thank my guest, Sis Melody. Thank you, Ma, for allowing us your time and opening up to us and sharing with us. And boys, thank you, Majita. I'm what I am because of you. You have made me the man that I am. Well, this is me, Silo Makekanyube, and the boys, and Melody Zondo saying goodbye, sayonara, till we meet again.